Good afternoon. I'm Jim Echols, Executive Director of Reaching Out from Within. I would like to welcome you all to today's event and offer special thanks to our Board of Directors, our donors, volunteers, general supporters, today's participants, and all who contribute to our very important work. Established in 1982, Reaching Out from Within has contributed greatly to the pre-release preparation of returning citizens from incarceration and their pursuit of productive lives upon their return to society. For me, there's no greater gratification and public service than participating as a full partner in this very noble mission. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to a brief video of the mission of our organization.
Most people come to prison, they bring all their attitudes, all their beliefs, all their emotions from the street, and they recreate that. So my idea would be, you need to give these people a different perspective on life so that they understand they can have a different life.
People use my status as a prisoner to be another reason not to like me.
The punishment is the removal from society. That is the punishment. We need to realize that that's where the punishment stops, the removal from society. And then while they're inside, not just warehouse them, but actually give them more tools to put in their toolbox. So that way, when they do come out, they have more of an opportunity not to reoffend.
I think everybody needs a space to be, as we talk about, raw, real, and relevant. We need to communicate at an entirely different level.
Reaching Out from Within deals with a lot of different aspects of life. It's kind of an AA for life, if you will. It was started by a lifer at the Lansing State Penitentiary. It was organized by the guys inside for the guys inside.
I think the most unique thing about it is it provides an opportunity, like a safe space for dudes to just have real conversations, man, that don't have anything necessarily to do with prison, that don't have anything necessarily to do with the police or the COs. It's just guys talking about real topics of conversation that come out of our blue book, like anger and respect and self-worth and spirituality and communication. And all these things allows you to get to know yourself in a much better way.
Well, here at Reaching Out from Within, it's a voluntary commitment. And as you volunteer, you continue to grow. You get out what you put in.
If you're given a 5-year sentence, you should serve 5 years. It shouldn't be a life sentence. We're spending $35,000 to $40,000 a year per inmate. If we could spend that $35,000 on their training and minimize their chances of coming back, the long-term return on investment is incredible.
And at Koch Industries, I've been with the company 25 years. And from the day I started, we were hiring people who had criminal records, because our whole goal is it's the right thing to do, but it's also good business.
We hear all the time from folks that are engaged in returning citizen hiring that they end up becoming some of their best employees. Really, it's all common sense. You know, it's like, why haven't we thought about this years ago?
Everyone had a part to play in making the system as broken as it is. That means that the only way you fix it is when you have everyone on board too. And that's why I think it is not just objectively, like in this sort of pure, pristine, idealistic world, a good thing that the Koch brothers and the ACLU or prosecutors and the Chamber of Commerce can come together. It is actually practically, pragmatically, realistically, the only ding-dang way that we are going to make this a better system.
You can reduce crime rates and reduce incarceration rates at the same time. And it's really not magic, it's common sense. And what these programs show is that people can learn. People are smart. I mean, it's amazing to me. The people that I've met over the last 10 to 15 years who've been doing this work, people have transformed their lives.
It takes someone that's been through something to be able to help somebody who's going through something, right? People who have been through something can help the ones behind them. People that have gotten out can turn around and come back in and help the ones that are still going through it and let them know what's going on. That's the essence of what Reaching Out from Within is.
So they have learned how to heal themselves and each other. And It is a privilege to witness this extraordinary work that they are doing. And when these people come out into the community from reaching out from within, they have a gift to give to society.
If you give us an opportunity to create a different life in prison, we'll do that same thing and we'll recreate that life once we leave prison. So it's really just about providing us an opportunity to start to believe we can have a different life, a shifting of our paradigms to understand this is not all I am, this is not all I can have, to give people a glimpse into something better. Because they'll want it once they get it. I promise you they will. It's what changed me. Once I started creating a better life for myself, I realized I don't want that old life.
Hey, can I give a shout out to all of them programs like Reaching Out from Within?
I've seen this video many times and it never fails to inspire me even more each time I see it. This time I'd like to let you know that you should feel free to make your donations throughout today's program, and feel free to, and if you look at your screen, you'll see the information there as far as donations, and we really and certainly appreciate everything that you do to support our endeavor here. At this time, I'd like to introduce our co-founder, Sue Ellen Freed.
Over 40 years ago, I met a man who was serving a life sentence at the Kansas State Penitentiary. And Greg said to me, Sue Ellen, he said, there are so many people behind these walls that are hungry to understand the roots of violence in their lives, and there are no psychological services. Do you think you could find some people that would come here and talk about child abuse, spouse abuse, substance abuse, addiction, anger management, communication skills? He gave me a whole list. Everybody that I asked went to the prison and made a presentation. And Greg took all of that information and turned it into a weekly session. And he used a Socratic method. So he would give some information and then he would ask the group to participate and engage. So if he was talking about child abuse, he would turn to the group and say, is there anybody here who has a personal story that could enlighten us about child abuse, and would you be willing to share it? And people started talking about the abuse and the abandonment that they had experienced when they were young children, and the tears were streaming down their eyes. If you're not willing to be brutally honest with yourself, don't come to a Reaching Out from Within meeting. If you're not willing to face your demons and examine the pain that you've caused for other people and your family and yourself, don't bother to show up. This program's not for you. But if you feel that you can be redeemed, and if you have the courage to change, this program can change your life. The proof of that is in our recidivism data. Our preliminary data shows that if you stay in this program for at least a year, when you get out, only 27% of Reaching Out from Within members will return. But the national recidivism data is between 50 and 67%. 98% of all people who are in prison will be released. And more than half of them will come back. We've got to do something to change that. This program is in every prison in Kansas. It's been expanded to North Carolina. It's started in Missouri and it's in the federal penitentiary in Leavenworth. I'm thinking about all of the people who have joined this call, who have been supporting us for so many years. We are so grateful that you have chosen to do that. And we wanted to do something very special to thank you. So today we're going to give you an inside look at how this program works and why it's so effective. So back to you, Jim.
Well, thank you so much. Those who have come behind you to be leaders in this effort. At this time, I'd like to introduce a young man who has been an inspiration to this organization as far as our leadership, our board members, donors, supporters, and certainly an inspiration to those returning citizens who are coming every day back to our communities in our state and in our nation, for that matter. We have a video that I'd like for you to take a look at, and I think you will be as inspired as we all have been in hearing about the journey of our alumni member, Danny Ramos.
The accomplishments of our goals pale in comparison to the person that we become while trying to achieve them. The fact that I grew up with low self-esteem already, and then all the anger and alcohol around me, led me to the streets. And when I went out there, I ran into these dudes who seemed to have the things that I didn't have. They seemed to know exactly who they were. They seemed to know exactly what they were trying to do. They seemed to have respect and acceptance from all their peers. I was immediately drawn to that. Gangs are very open, welcoming things in reality to people who are willing to become a part of what they're about. And I remember right before, I caught this case, I was telling my friends, man, I'm going to pop one of these dudes, man. I'm going to get one of these dudes. So it was in my mind. I actively was wanting to do that. I felt like maybe if I did, I would finally cross some threshold. People who had bodies on them, that was kind of like the ultimate gangster right there. And you kind of always aspired to get to that level. I was a kid trying to handle all these things on my own, and long story short, I wound up in prison, for 22 years over not dealing with those emotions and that hurt and that pain that's going on inside of me at that age. At 18, I showed up in Lansing, and day one, man, somebody rolls up on me and asks me, hey, you know where the Mexicans sit? I'm like, no. So he tells me, and they run it down to me. That's how we roll. It's the same old story. I mean, I'm a gang member. There's gang members in there. Dudes I already know are in there. And so I just jump right into that lifestyle. It's almost like I just blank out what I did and what I just went through. This whole trial, this whole emotional situation, me praying to God, and I just moved forward. And I just wanted to become a soldier, man. I started working out all the time. I started talking intentionally, walking intentionally, reading the right kind of books, meeting the right kind of people. I was just building this whole life around being like this ultimate gangster in my mind. That's all I wanted to do was be focused and disciplined. I didn't want no emotions. I didn't need no weakness. If I didn't know you, stay the hell away from me. Every time I would get close to getting emotional for any reason, I would just fight it back. And I remember a couple times, man, it got so close. Man, I would haul off and punch myself in the face. Like, just punch myself. I would not do it. And I was really me. I'm telling you, I didn't cry for like 7 years. I refused. It took me a long time to really even come to grips with what I did. And it didn't happen until I lost my mom. In 2009, I was in Hutch. And I remember thinking, what? Like, my mom's been diagnosed with cancer? And so I'm calling my mom every day, and I'm talking to her an hour a day, maybe 2 hours. And I remember thinking, like, what can I do to help my mom? And I remember finding these book of questions I had. It's all these questions, man. What are your favorite colors, favorite foods? Into these more deep questions about the universe and God and hopes and dreams and all these things. And I remember asking her one day, Mom, what are your hopes and your dreams? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know, like anything. What are your hopes and your dreams? She's like, well, I just hope that, my kids and my grandkids are happy and have good lives. And I hope I get to see them grow up. And that's it. And I said, I know that, but like, if you had like this big dream for yourself, if you could have anything, like a wish, what would it be? And she said, well, if I could have anything, it would be for my only son to come home one day. And man, that was a difficult thing for me to deal with, man, because I felt like she's wasting her dream on me. Because if I was going to be honest with myself, man, I was a gang member, drug addict, man. I'm in the hole. I can't even be in population in prison. All these things. And it hit me that, man, my mom deserved. She deserved a better son than me. And I tell her, Mom, I want to promise you right now that I'm going to put 100% towards making that dream happen. I'm going to try to get out. And she didn't say anything, but she heard me. I knew she heard me because we were just having that little exchange. And I meant it, man. I meant it. Probably, I don't know, within a week, my mom passed away. She passed away on Thanksgiving morning, 2010. But ever since then, man, I woke up and I was focused. I was determined. I'm in the hole. I'm still in long-term segregation. At that point, I had been in there a little over a year. And I don't know what to do, though. Like, how am I going to get out of prison? I don't know what the heck to do here. So I start hollering out my cell. Like, the mental health lady, I seen her. She comes make rounds. She's walking across the cell house. I'm yelling, Miss Hoffman. She's talking to me in this crack in this door. And she says, what do you need? I said, man, I need something. I'm trying to change my life. She's like, there's this new group they're starting, Reaching Out from Within. They never had it here. They're only going to take, I think, 13 people. So you need to put your Form 9 in quick and, write something on there that stands out so that they pick you. And so I write it. It's at your lowest points that you see things the clearest. Because all the other superficial things, all the other artificial things, all the things that you might have been thinking was important, that you might have been focusing on, are stripped away and you don't have them anymore. But the wisdom, and this is what I pray for all the time, that God gives me the wisdom to hang on to those things that I saw when I was at the bottom, when you're closer to the top and you have all this stuff trying to distract you. I regret my crime. I regret my behaviors. I regret those things, but I don't want to forget them because they will keep me humble moving forward. All these leadership skills that I have been building up my whole life, from the time I joined the gang when I was 14 to the time I decided to make a change in my life when I was almost 30. And at that point, I was one of the most influential gang members in the Kansas Department of Corrections. I realized I could use those skills, man, in a new life. Like, those things could come into play, in a different way. And my whole life wasn't for nothing. Like, all these things that I've been through wasn't for nothing. Like, all these experiences weren't for nothing. I didn't have to just abandon everything I ever was and be somebody totally different. I could just change my focus. Don't ask for fewer problems, ask for broader shoulders. And that was a quote that I liked a lot and that I built kind of like my idea of myself upon. Because I think if it touches you, then that means that that's in you somewhere already, something that you're striving to be, something that you want to make manifest in your life. So what do you think about this one? Old things pass away and all things become new. Does this ring true? Has anybody got any thoughts on that? What Reaching Out from Within does is it has developed a culture of positivity, not just positivity, but proactivity, of taking ownership of your life and what it looks like. This unique environment where dudes feel comfortable being themselves because it's no staff involved. So there's not a guard there. There's not a staff member there. There's volunteers that are part of Reaching Out from Within, and there's prisoners, and that's it. If you're there, it's because either you're curious, somebody invited you, or you're really trying to seek something better for yourself, which was what I was trying to do. And when you start unloading all that baggage, man, that's been on you for your whole life, people are starting to see you as a different person. And if you understand who you are, then you understand why you are the way you are. And if you can understand why you are the way you are, then you can change the way you are. One of the things that's sorely lacking in prison is the opportunity to have something different. And really, I think that's because it's such an old institution. Prison's founded on these archaic ideas of what punishment is and who these people who go to prison are and how we feel about them. The culture hasn't changed enough. It's such an oppressive place, man. It's such an ugly place. Like everything's metal, everything's concrete, everything's old and everything's dirty and everybody's yelling and screaming. And it's still about punishment. You're a criminal. So what if you don't have no hot water? So what if your toilet won't flush? So what if your clothes got holes in them? So all these little things that when you try to address in prison, it's like, oh yeah, okay. You're a prisoner, man. What do you expect? If you don't want to endure this behavior, then don't come to prison. It's a pretty rough environment to be in. And when you put somebody in that type of environment and then expect them to somehow learn different types of behaviors, to heal these deep wounds, to become a more socialized and pro-social person, it's hard to do, man. It's really hard to do, no matter what the environment is. But if the environment was a little more, nurturing, a little more peaceful, a little more understanding and empathetic, to give people an opportunity at a second chance at a different type of life, it changes you. So many times I run into people in prison and all they're thinking about is the day they get out. That's all they think about. They're just sitting around waiting for that day to get here, waiting for that day to come. And I always tell them, man, as hard as it is to acknowledge, there's a possibility that day might not ever get here. Keep taking advantage of your days right now. Keep taking advantage of what you have in front of you. We can get stuck in the past, but you can also get stuck in the future and not take advantage of your present. And in prison, I think that happens just as much as the other way around. People just look at this as a timeout. Like, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing till they open the door. And that's the wrong way to look at this. It was very difficult saying goodbye to these people that mean a lot to me. They're the people you pray with, that you eat with, share holidays with, They're very important people to me. And so that was hard. Like, that was a difficult thing. And on the other hand, I was super excited about seeing my family and being able to be with my family again. And so it was like this weird, juxtaposition that I was like stuck in, that it seemed unreal until I think the minute I walked out of that place.
That's going to leave this balance right here.
I
Going on a card for you.
It's crazy to think back that, this whole journey and this whole process and everything that's happened over the last 10 years started really with two things. One, my mom getting sick, but two, that promise I made to my mom, when I told her that I was going to do everything I could to get out of prison, because that was her dream. That's what she wanted.
Are you kidding me? Hey! Oh.
Oh, I love you so much. Oh. I'm so happy. Erica, my beautiful sister.
I can't even imagine.
I brought mom for you too.
Oh.
Here you go. That one's yours. I've been saving it for a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you too. The whole world needs a place and a space and an opportunity to tell the truth about who they are, what they've been through, how they feel, without any expectations, judgment, or anything really, just to get it out. As human beings, man, we should be concerned about people, and we shouldn't give up on life until it's over. It's not over yet. These people they've done what they've done, and they're in prison and they're serving their time, but they're alive and they're going to come home, over 90% of them. So we should be concerned with that life while it's here, you know, as a society and as a world. And I thank God every day that people were concerned about my life. They didn't give up on me, and they helped me, and they gave me opportunities, and they invested in me and fed into me. And I look at my life now, man, and I don't know where my future is going, but I'm excited about it. This is too much, man. Jeez.
And that was Mom's radio that used to be in her room.
Man.
That young couple.
Oh, wow. Look at Pop and Mom. Oh, that's beautiful.
Awesome.
That is beautiful. My beautiful mom. Look at my mom.
Yeah.
But I would like to say one more thing. I just like to tell all my boys in the joint, you know, that I love them and I miss them, and I believe in them, and I hope they're carrying on, you know, with all the things that we talked about and keeping those dreams alive, because they're going to come true. You know, I'm with them. I'm out here with them, and I'll never forget them, and keep doing what they're doing. You know, it's important.
Hi, what a beautiful and powerful story. And Daniel's story emphasizes the importance of our mission. Daniel is one of many who have been successful in having the courage to change. Hi, I'm Kieran Kiki Huggins, and I'm the current board president for Reaching Out from Within. Today, you will hear from an amazing group of alums who have had the courage to change. For those who are watching via YouTube, feel free to comment, and if we have time during the panel, we will get to your questions. For now, I want to introduce our board of director, volunteer, and moderator for the discussion, Russ Thompson.
Welcome to the Reaching Out from Within panel discussion portion of this event. The panel consists of 3 men who joined Reaching Out from Within while they were incarcerated. I'll be the moderator, and although I've never been incarcerated, I have spent nearly 25 years in prisons as a volunteer with Reaching Out from Within. In February of 1996, I visited my first Reaching Out from Within group meeting inside the Lansing Correctional Facility, and I was immediately hooked on the benefit of this program to our society. What impressed me at my first Reaching Out from Within meeting was the active involvement of every group member in the peer-led group discussion. The topic was one that, as I recall, that was facilitated out of the Blue Book, which was a book put together by earlier members of the Reaching Out from Within group. And the topic, I think, was anger management. All the participants were giving their recreation time up and voluntarily attending this weekly 2-hour meeting. They were there because they wanted to be there talking about a topic that they wanted to talk about, that they felt was important to their self-development. Clearly, this kind of empowerment was something uncommon in their prison life. I invite you to listen to the testimony of each of the 3 panel members. And we're going to start with Daniel Ramos, who was released March 2nd of this year, and who was obviously the topic of discussion in our video that we just showed. And Daniel, I'm going to ask you to talk to the audience a little bit about what's happened since March 2nd when you were released, and why you did decide to stay involved with Reaching Out from Within and become a part of the board of directors.
Thank you, Russ. My name's Daniel Ramos, and you guys saw most of my story with that video that I had an opportunity to be a part of. And like Russ said, I got out March 2nd, and a lot's happened since then. I mean, I figured out that the world's a totally different place than prison is. So I went from this place where I knew how to do absolutely everything and I knew absolutely everybody to this big world where I didn't know how to do anything. And the only people that I really knew were my family and my friends and my support group. But a lot of things have happened. I mean, I've been working since I've gotten out. You know, I've gotten my driver's license and I've got a car, and I figured out how to pay my own bills and to get things set up that I need to. And I've reconnected with a lot of my family members that I hadn't seen in over 20 years. Just recently, I got to see one of my aunts who I hadn't seen in 25 years. And it was such a beautiful experience to see her, because when I walked in the house, you know, she looked so much like my mom that I don't think I feel closer to my mother than when I get to see some of her sisters, because they look so much alike. You know, it's such a special thing that to feel that connection with family. And I've got a chance to join the board of directors, Reaching Out from Within. It's been a beautiful experience too. I think the biggest thing that's happened to me since I've gotten out is my beautiful girlfriend has been released from prison as well, and we've had a chance to be together finally after over 2.5 years of communication and believing in our relationship. So my life's got all these beautiful things that are happening, and I just thank God every day for Reaching Out from Within and the part that it's played in helping me. It's really been such a beautiful thing for me to be a part of that. It's amazing. I just want to give back to it and help any way that I can, because it's a unique program, and it's one that's extremely beneficial to anybody who's a part of it, whether it's a prisoner or volunteer or somebody like you who's watching a program like this and contributing. I just thank you guys for your contribution and your interest, and just thank you. And I hope that you guys get something out of it, because I know that me and the rest of the participants have as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And now we're going to turn to Andre Carson, whose release was 18 years ago. Andre, you also served on the Reaching Out from Within board of directors and after release, and also for a period of time you were the executive director. Please tell us about your prison experience and what got you involved with Reaching Out from Within on the inside, and what you're doing now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Russ, for introducing me. My name is Andre Carson, and my journey started when I was a teenager as well. I entered the prison system when I was 17 years old. I was one of those individuals that were out there as a young man trying to make his way in the world, seeing people in the streets, my brothers, my cousins, making a lot of money, and I was one of those individuals who were always in school, but I wanted to be like them. So I kind of adapted my lifestyle to mirror my older brother and my cousins, because they had that type of exciting lifestyle that I thought was interesting for me as well, and that led me down the road to getting incarcerated. At age 17, I was incarcerated and received a 15-year sentence in Missouri. But that wasn't the only place. I ended up also having a case that I had to deal with in Kansas as well, and I ended up getting a 14 to 45-year sentence on that as well. So throughout the whole situation, I ended up doing 14 years in Missouri and Kansas put together. My journey started out, I was a pretty hot-headed young man when I first was incarcerated, and I didn't really care what anybody thought of me. I wanted to show people that I was one of the toughest people that was going to be in prison, even at such a young age. I got involved with gang members when I got to Missouri's prison. I started running with the gang members there. Ended up spending a lot of time in the hole. At that time, when I was a young man, I really didn't really care about the future, because as far as I was concerned, I'd seen so many people get locked up, so many of my friends get killed. I really didn't think that there was much of a future for me. So I was just about living for the moment, and it was all about myself and the guys that I hung around. But as I was in prison, you start meeting people who put things on your mind to make you realize that life isn't always the way that you see it, or that you have seen it. And I was fortunate enough to come across some people before I even made it to Reaching Out from Within while I was in Missouri's prison, who were able to put some positive thoughts into my head. And some of those individuals that I was around, there's one individual who introduced me to a book called Makes Me Want to Holler, that made me want to, and I read that book and I realized that this guy's life story paralleled my own. And he ended up getting out of prison and becoming a successful individual. And I started thinking to myself, that could possibly be me as well, you know. And so I started to get on a more positive track. I tried to join different programs that were in prison, but for some reason, none of those programs that I was trying to join, it fit my lifestyle, it fit my mentality. And so I started giving up on programs. Eventually, I made it to Kansas prison, and I kept that positive thought with me, knowing that I wanted to make some type of change in my life, but I really didn't have that direction to where I knew how to actually go about doing it. I knew I had to surround myself with positive people, but the trajectory and the path that I wanted to actually go down, I really didn't know what that looked like. And there was an individual guy named Merle Andrews who was a part of Reaching Out from Within. At one point, we ended up working together, and he was telling me about this program, and it sounded interesting, but at that point, I'm programmed out. These programs I've been to, they really didn't do anything. But I told him, I said, yeah, I'll check it out whenever I get a chance to get to the minimum facility, because that was the only place that it was at. And I ended up getting to the minimum facility at 1998, and he saw me and he said, okay, Andre, you ready to come and check out this program? And I gave him my word. So I said, yeah, I'll show up. I got down there to this program, and I seen these volunteers and these inmates down there. They were talking with one another. And me, I'm a standoffish person at first. And so I just stood up against the wall and I just listened to people. It was time to start, and I took a seat and just listened to the conversation that these people were having back and forth, the volunteers with the inmates with the inmates, and these guys were telling their stories. And you can feel the genuineness that was coming from these individuals and their insight on their own lives and how they not only hurt themselves, but how they hurt their families, how they hurt their communities, and their desire to want to change that whole situation and make amends to it, but also want to give back in a way that makes their life more important than what it has been up to that point. And I'm thinking that's exactly how I feel. I want to be doing something that makes my existence in this world mean more than what it has up to this point. And after that day, I kept coming back. I got hooked on it, and ever since then, I've been a part of Reaching Out from Within. Inside, I became the facilitator of the program. I got out, and before I got out, I told these guys, "Hey, look here, I never intend to come back to this place in this uniform that I'm in right now, but I guarantee you, I'll always come back." And since then, I've always come back to the program to speak, to talk to the guys. It's been great. But once I got out, I ended up having the opportunity to join a program in an organization called KC Nova. This organization is comprised of the prosecutor's office, Kansas City Police Department, community services. It is actually the actual prosecutor's office sent me to prison to begin with, and they took a chance on me, and I've been working with them for about 10 years now. And that's a little bit about my story right there. And right now, I'm gonna go ahead and turn.
Thank you, Andre. Jason Miles is our third panel member. Jason was released from prison 24 years ago. He is currently vice president of the Reaching Out from Within board of directors and previously served a 3-year term as the board president. Actually, the 3 years following my board presidency. So we've known each other for a long, long time, Jason. And, we heard both Daniel and Andre talk about having a crime committed while they were a teenager and serving a long time in prison after that and actually growing up in prison. So, maybe that applies to you as well. We can see that Jason's got a little gray in his hair these days, but it was 24 years ago when he was incarcerated. Jason, please tell us about your time in prison and how reaching out from within became part of your life.
All right. Thank you, Russ. I became involved with reaching out from within probably about 26 years ago while I was serving a 5 to 20 year prison sentence at the Lansing Correctional Facility for my involvement in a homicide. I think as soon as I got into prison, I, through desperation, developed this intense desire to try to figure out why I did the things I did, why I was the way I was, what did I need to change about myself to make sure that I never came back to prison. And one of the great things that reaching out from within did for me was it connected me with like-minded fellow inmates who were trying to change their lives. And reaching out from within provided me the tools and the atmosphere that was very conducive to me being able to change. It was kind of a safe space where it's okay to talk about vulnerable things. You don't really have a lot of that in prison. And also what was great for me was the, call them square johns, coming in from the outside with their perspective. Because, we're in prison and we kind of only had each other to bounce things off of. And it was really refreshing, helpful, and great that we had people coming in from the outside saying, well, this is how, this works. This is how, maybe look at it this way, maybe look at it that way, kind of giving us a different perspective. And the relationships that I developed when I was in the prison with other inmates and with the volunteers, that continued when I was on the outside with, we have different alumni groups. And also, it's kind of a camaraderie. I think Danny really touched on it eloquently earlier. There's kind of a bond there that you develop as you're going through this change process with other inmates and also the volunteers. And so then once I got out, I kind of had these guys that I was accountable to and also the volunteers that I was accountable to and was there to be able to lean on, when maybe you encountered something that you weren't quite familiar with or didn't know how to quite deal with something, or maybe you were in search of a job and these guys knew somebody that would hire somebody that had done time in prison before. So it was just really helpful to be able to communicate with somebody who had been where we had been and who was now on the outside trying to do the right thing. Those things were very helpful. And for me in my life today, I feel a sense of responsibility to the guys and the gals that are still in the prison pushing to get out, because I do know what it's like to be inside there and really want a new opportunity, a new chance, want somebody to not look at you, for the worst thing that you've ever done in your life, but look at you for what the potential you have and what you can do. So I'm very grateful for everybody that's listening to this, very grateful for all our people that support us. We couldn't do what we do without you. So turn it back to you, Russ.
Well, thank you, Jason. I think you've all mentioned a little bit about why reaching out from within is different from other programs in the prison. And one of the things that I noted that was different was that, we start off with a kind of a affirmation of our beliefs, our shared beliefs. And I've been to over 1,000 group meetings and they've all began that way. One of those beliefs is that even those who are incarcerated can help those in need. And, this fall as an example, I know the Reaching Out from Within group that I sponsor at Lansing Minimum did a fundraiser for a nonprofit organization in Kansas City, Kansas that supports peer tutoring. And they raised a couple of $1,000 inside the prison from other prison inmates for that cause. And I'm just wondering from each of you, why would people that are incarcerated at Lansing Correctional Facility care about the young people in Wyandotte County who are struggling academically? And I'm going to let Daniel start because he was a young person from Wyandotte County. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think for me personally, that's one of the reasons why it was important to me. I mean, I know what it's like to be one of those kids growing up in that community where you feel like, the people that you see every day are your entire world. Like, I know growing up, I'm from Wyandotte County, grew up on 10th Street, and that was my entire world. I didn't think about anything outside of that. I didn't think about anybody that I didn't know. And so I really didn't feel like my life could be anything other than what I saw every day. And so for me, I think it's important for us to let those kids know that there are other people out there that you don't see who care about you or thinking about you and who believe in you and believe in you enough that they're willing to go out of their way and to put forth some effort and some thought and some sweat equity and some, create some opportunities to raise some money for them, because we feel like they deserve something better. They deserve an opportunity to do something better. And I think that that's probably similar thought process to everybody who participates in a fundraiser for kids in the inner city communities. We want them to know that there's people who care about you, inside and outside, and they should believe in themselves and care about their lives as well, because so many of them probably don't take the time to think about how big the world is and how many people out there are willing to help you if you put yourself out there. That's why it's important to me.
Andre, can you remember why that was important to members of your group?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Why was helping people that were in need important to guys that were in the group back when you were in it?
For us, it was a part of our mindset. It was like I said earlier. We wanted to be more important. We wanted to have more importance in this world than what we had up to that time, and been able to do fundraisers and show our community that we're not only thinking of ourselves, but we're thinking about ways that we can help improve everything around us, and that included not only inside the prison but outside in the community as well. And been able to fundraise and have the DOC allow us to do that fundraising, to give to the community, that meant just as much to us being able to do that to the people that we were giving that to.
Jason, same question, but also in addition to that, the first of the beliefs that we affirm at the beginning of every meeting is that no one has a right to hit anyone. If you could comment maybe on that one as well.
Sure. On the giving back, I think, I'm only going to try to talk for myself here, but for me, when I was in prison and I would look back on my life, on the people I had hurt, the things that I had done, I really, there was a lot of shame and there was a lot of realization that I had taken a lot of my life, that I was a very selfish, self-centered person. And so to be able to be in a situation where I could give back really meant a lot to me. And I think that really, my opinion is that does a lot for a guy's or a gal's self-esteem. And it also helps with the change process, in my opinion. And so as far as the nonviolence stance that we take, I think that's an important thing because it kind of defines who we are and where we're trying to go. And a lot of us come from backgrounds of violence. So to be able to do that, I think is very important.
We've talked earlier in the program about the fact that Reaching Out from Within began at Lansing Correctional Facility in 1982, and there was just the one group. And after that, what happened was that those guys that were in that group, guys and gals, because it was actually a co-ed facility at that time, they were transferred to other facilities, and they took the blue books with them, and Reaching Out from Within became something that was in their hearts, and so they took it to their new facilities. And with the administrative support at those other facilities, they were able to start groups there. So now we have groups in every prison in the state of Kansas, and in the federal prison in Kansas at Leavenworth. And that same process has begun in North Carolina now. So why do you think this program has that kind of appeal to at least a segment of the prison population, that they're so invested in it, they want to take it with them wherever they go? And we'll start this time with Jason.
Awesome. I think my experience has been when we go into a prison, generally we're the only group that we're the only group that has been started by inmates, 4 inmates. And a lot of the guys, when they have groups or they have programming, there's a staff person sitting in the room. But, we don't do any of those kind of things. All we have in the room are volunteers that come in from the outside to participate in the group. The guys are leading the group. It's the guys or the gals, it's their group. And, we're not in there, dictating to them how, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. They're free to bring up the things that they want to bring up, and they're free to, in my opinion, it kind of brings them along in the change process and puts them in the driver's seat. And we're just kind of helping to build the car and helping to be supportive of what they're doing.
Andre, you want to comment?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that I was glad to be fortunate enough to be the executive director at the time that we got it into North Carolina. And excuse me, I'd like to say that I think one of the main reasons why it was so enticing for myself and probably for other people is that this wasn't a program that was created by somebody else, somebody who had a degree or somebody who didn't know what it meant to be incarcerated and deal with the types of things that we were dealing with. It was created by individuals who were where we were at. And it wasn't a thing where we had to go step 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to be a part of this program. You just had to come and be genuinely you and be willing to make a change, and not only yourself, but into everybody around you. And just coming and being yourself and wanting to have a change happen is the only thing that was needed. And I think that was one of the organic things about the program that drew myself in and probably drew other people in as well.
And Daniel, before I ask you, I'm not going to ask you that same question. I've got a different question because this came from our audience. What are the main reasons why people return to prison from your perspective?
I think one of the main reasons is because they don't have the support that they need. I mean, one of the things I realized is that as prepared as I was, a job day one, 2 mentors, a place to go, a loving family, lots of friends, all this opportunity to build myself and to understand myself, that there were so many roadblocks and so many little things that popped up along my way in these last 9 months that there was plenty of times when I could see how somebody would give up. And, it really breaks my heart to think that there's other men and women out there who want their second chance just as bad as me, who have worked just as hard as me before they got out and done all the right things. And the reason they're going to fail is because they don't have the opportunities and the support that I was fortunate enough to have. And I really think that that's it. It's twofold. One, the preparation before you get out, but 2, having the support of people in the community and the opportunities once you get out to help you get over those humps that you're going to hit along the way. I think those are probably the 2 biggest things is that people don't prepare before they leave and they don't have the support system when they return.
Jason, you have something to add to that?
Sure, I can, and real quick too, romances and finances. Those 2 things. Probably substance abuse is in there too, really high.
How about you, Andre?
Well, I think a lot of times people simply don't really prepare themselves for what will really happen once they get out, and it's hard to do that because you just don't know. A lot of times you just don't know what you don't know, and you think you get prepared for when you get out. And I can tell you, after 14 years, I thought I was prepared, but I wasn't. And there were times where I was really close when I first got out to doing something really stupid. And the fact that I drew back on where I was, I'll never let myself forget where I came from as far as prison and all the things I had to go through. And that's one of the things I always try to keep with me as a reminder of where I was at and how badly I didn't like being there. But fortunately, I didn't make that mistake that I could have made, like some people do. And I was blessed, like Danny said, to have the opportunity to actually participate in society. And I think that's one of the big things that people need.
Okay, we've got just one more question, and that's the end of our time, in fact. So that question is, there are a lot of people in this audience who have probably never even seen the inside of a prison and really don't have much idea about what goes on in there. And hopefully this program has enlightened them somewhat. But we offer an opportunity at Reaching Out from Within for people to voluntarily enter prison. And what would you say to people that might be interested in considering being a volunteer in Reaching Out from Within or another prison group, what would you say to them that would encourage them to follow up on that and actually act on that? And I'll start this one with Daniel.
I'll just say that you should do it because it's not what you think, and we're not who you think we are. And it's a great opportunity for people to really get to know somebody who you'll never get a chance to get to know, and to get to experience something in a way that you'll never get a chance to experience. Very few people see the inside of a prison, and very few people, even fewer people, get to see a reaching out from within meeting inside of a prison. It's one of the most powerful things that I've ever had a chance to experience and be a part of, and I would encourage anybody to do it. And like the reason it's such a powerful program is because when something great and amazing happens to you, you want to share it with everybody. And that's kind of the reason why I think we all are excited about talking about reaching out from within, and because it's an amazing, great thing that's happened to me. And you can come and check it out if you ever get an opportunity to do so.
Jason?
I would say there's a need for there's a need for volunteers. And through you as a volunteer fulfilling that need, there's also a benefit to that. And the benefit is being able to witness, like Sue Ellen talks about, the personal transformations. To be able to be there and help somebody in that kind of journey, you give or you get as you give too.
And Andre, 1 minute.
No pressure.
I can tell you that there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to prisoners. A lot of stigmas that are so untrue. Some of them are, but there's some that are so untrue. And if you are a volunteer and you go in and you see these group of guys and females, women who are in there trying to change their life around and trying to help change other people's lives around, I can tell you that once you become a part of something like that, it's going to be really difficult for anybody who comes in and volunteers to walk away from that, because you want to be a part of it just as much as we want to be a part of it when you feel it.
And I can absolutely attest to that. You have just heard testimony from 3 outstanding citizens, and these are men who I call, and I'm proud to call, my friends. They are examples of why people deserve a second chance. This concludes our panel discussion, and I am turning it back to Jim and Kiki.
Thank you, Russ, Jason, Daniel, and Andre. That was amazing, and I wish we had more time. What a great discussion, and there's no better way to present the spirit of this organization than to bring you together with our amazing alums. Thank you for our sponsors that made today possible, and as a reminder, we encourage you to help reach out to individuals and make the courage to change by texting ROFW to the number 44321.
I'd like to say I appreciate those who supported us and who participated in this afternoon's event. We hope to see you and get to know you going forward. And in closing, I would say that we all make decisions every day. Some of us make decisions because they're good business decisions. Some of us make decisions that are expedient, be they political or otherwise. But it's important that we make the decision to support organizations like Reaching Out from Within for the service we provide to our returning citizens as they prepare for release and after they have been released to pursue their productive lives ahead. And your moral support, your volunteerism, as well as your financial support is very important and instrumental in the success of our programs as we try to impact the lives of these young men and women, returning citizens who have the courage to change. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.